Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name's Lynn Thibodeau Sear, and I am a parent training coordinator with the Family Network on Disabilities, specifically the Parent Education Network program that is housed under Family Network on Disabilities. And with me, I have Miss Berg. Brittany, if you would introduce yourself and basically your position with Osceola County.
Hi, so I'm Brittany Burke. So I'm a district compliance specialist. So basically, I work with a handful of schools to make sure that the IEPs are in compliance, or if we have any difficult meetings, I kind of step in to make sure that we're good to go.
Excellent. So let me start sharing my screen because this afternoon's presentation is the nuts and bolts of self-determination. And so I believe last month or maybe last week, I'm not sure, the presentation was nuts and bolts of self-advocacy. And so let me get into it. I do have speaker notes just to kind of help me stay on track so that we know exactly, I make sure that I don't miss any of the information. So in order for me or anyone to work for our company, they have to have a family member with a disability. In my particular situation, I have raised four children in all of which required an IEP. And I, not that because I was that great of an advocate, but they were identified, right? So the oldest one had a short-term memory disability, and which was part of his learning disability. The second one, she is dyslexic as well as ADHD. The third one was ADHD and gifted. And then the fourth one I always like to say was my reward for the hard work that the other three were. And she was born with a genetic disorder that we all know as Down syndrome. And so it was nice to finally have one that went slower than the others because I was tired by then. And I really got to enjoy her. So I've been at the IEP table probably better than 35 years for all sorts of different exceptionalities. A brief history about us in case you've missed our past presentations. We are a nonprofit 501c3, meaning we don't work for the local, state, or federal agencies or any of the schools. We are funded in part by the U.S. Department of Education and the U.S. Department of Health. And because of our grants, we are a free service to families. So we are the statewide Parent Training and Information Center, and the acronym is PTI. I was not aware of PTI until I came to work for Family Network on Disabilities. And we're also the statewide Family to Family Health Information Center. We are family driven. We were founded in 1985 by parents of children with disabilities who came together for mutual support and sharing of information. 1985, there was no Google search. There was no internet. Family Network on Disabilities is a national network for individuals of all ages who may be at risk, have disabilities, or have special needs and their families. We also serve professionals and concerned citizens. F&D is unique because the majority of our board members, management staff, and all of our field staff are family members of persons with disabilities. So we don't just talk the talk, we have walked the walk. So this is our disclaimer file. We are not attorneys, doctors, or mental health professionals. So the following information is not legal or medical advice. What we do do is share information, resources, and supports for you and your family. The information is research-based to create our trainings, but we encourage collaboration with schools and agencies. So, self-determination is the process of taking control and making decisions that affect one's life. It involves a combination of skills needed to manage one's own life. So, in school, the student's needs for self-determination instruction should be identified and documented in the individual educational IEP. And this is a quote from Project 10. Project 10 stands for TEN, Transition Education Network, which is a project through the Florida Department of Education. And their sole purpose is to help schools build capacity when it comes to planning for transition beyond school to adulthood. So some of the topics that we're going to cover today are what is self-determination, assessing self-determination, supporting self-determination in school, supporting self-determination in career exploration, and then supporting self-determination in continued education options. So what I want to do is kind of read the slide. So what's the difference between self-determination and self-advocacy? And as you can see on the slide, self-advocacy is on the right, and that is what was covered previously. So self-determination is having decision-making control over your goals, your education, your services, your money, your housing, your independence, basically your life. Self-advocacy is about speaking up, asking for help, asking for your accommodations, communicating what you need. I love this slide. This is done with the kind of a template like the periodic elements, right, in chemistry. So these are the elements of self-determination. We have choice making in the top left-hand corner, and I need to move this a little bit because I really want to be able to read this. So choice making is the skill of selecting a path forward between two known options. Decision making is the skill of selecting a path forward based on various solutions that have each been thoroughly considered. Problem solving, the skill of finding solutions to difficult or complex issues. Goal setting and attainment, the ability to develop a goal, plan for implementation, and measure success. Self-regulation, the ability to monitor and control one's own behaviors, actions, and skills in various situations. Self-advocacy, which we've covered, the skill necessary to speak up and or defend a cause or a person. Internal locus of control. That's the belief that one has control over outcomes that are important to his or her own life. Self-efficacy, belief in one's own ability to succeed in specific situations. Self-awareness, basic understanding of one's own strengths, needs, and abilities. So we want to make sure that our students have the ability to be able to basically have all of these combined for self-determination as they're going forward. So this one's on supporting self-determination in school. While in school, we want to support our students to set goals. So we want them to use maybe a goal plan template. And these, I can include this, the different websites that we use. But one of the things I really love is the I'm Determined, which is the one right here in the middle, .org. And it's all one word, I'm Determined.org. And that can really help to set up the what the goal is that the student has. The other one that's also listed on here is Y4Y, which is, I believe, hang on one second, I want to make sure I say it right. I believe it is Youth for, right here, U for Youth. And again, that's another one. The other thing that we also want to help our students when it comes to self-determination is helping them understand some of the digital apps that are out there so that the student can start to use their phones. Let's face it, we all use our phones for at least a calendar so that we can plan, our dates and appointments. And we want to make sure that our students have the same opportunity to use those digital apps. So a sample of a completed goal: by the end of summer, Julie will try 2 work volunteer opportunities related to working with animals. So that would be a really great self-determination. Love this slide. This one is on assessing self-determination. And so step 1, we have to find our starting point, right? So before we can get to our goal, we need to know where we're starting from. Step 2 is identifying the readiness level of the student or your child, if you're the parent, to make career decisions. And so as an example, I like to use what I had done with my daughter who has Down syndrome. When she was in high school, she really wanted to work with soldiers. And we live inland in Florida, so we don't live near any kind of an Air Force or Navy base or anything like that. So I explained to her, I said, okay, soldiers protect our country in other countries. Stop and think about who protects our country here. And the answer was the police officers. So what if we, looked at possibly a job working at a police station? So that's where we have to kind of work with them to figure out what is it that they want to do, and is it realistic as far as figuring out where they might be able to best work. Okay. So a lot of our students, without disabilities for that matter, would love to be an NBA player, an NFL player. There's a lot of steps before you can get recruited to that, right? So most players are recruited at the college level. Okay, so let's start with the end in mind. Okay, so let's back up. Okay, so if you want to go to the NFL or NBA, you're going to need to go to a college. And before you can get to a college, you've got to make sure you graduate high school. And in order to get in the college, what do you need for credits in high school in order to get in there? So we start with the end in mind and then we back into it. Okay. Same thing with our students that have a disability. Step number 3 is supporting your child in identifying their strengths and limitations. One of the things I love that my daughter did with vocational rehab was on her IEP, she had written down that she wanted to work with animals. Now, keep in mind, we've never even had any pet in my house, but she had a calendar that had really cute pictures of puppies. And so the person, her job coach with vocational rehab, took her to a veterinary hospital. As it turns out, she was scared to death of every animal there. But the office manager had a brother with Down syndrome and understood the disability, brought her to the back room, showed her the different things that were there. But one of the things that she showed her was how to put together a surgical kit and in what order the instruments needed to go. My daughter nailed it the first time. So maybe she doesn't work with the animals directly in a veterinary hospital, but maybe she could put together the surgical kits. And then step number 4 is using various online tools and questionnaires, and I'm going to get into that in a minute. So supporting self-determination in school, we want to make sure it's engaging in the IEP process as a self-advocate. House Bill 173, passed in 2021, requires school districts to invite students who are 12 years old or in 7th grade, whichever comes first, to attend their IEP meetings. So sometimes schools or the parents even will kind of say, I really don't want them there. And I would disagree with you, okay? And let me explain to you how we did it with my daughter. We used excuse me, we used a PowerPoint, and I helped her put it together. And of the 12 slides, which is on that website, imdetermined.org, that was 3 slides ago, they have this. And out of the 12 slides, 6 really applied to her specific needs. Okay, so one of the slides was my disability is, and with my daughter, she put Down syndrome. I'm a lot like Becky from the show Glee. I need more time to walk because I walk slow. So she was starting to learn about her disability and be able to self-advocate for as far as her disability, right? I need headphones when things are loud. So we want our students to start learning about their disability, identifying it. Not that it's an excuse of any sort, but it's like, okay, this is how my disability affects me, and this is what I need to be successful. Once she presented her IEP, once she presented her PowerPoint, then we excused her. She didn't need to stay for present level and all that stuff. Again, it's going to depend on the student and what their disability is and how their personality is. Okay. For a student that has, let's say, dyslexia, okay? The goal would be that by the time they're in 11th and 12th grade, maybe they're running their own IEP meeting and they can say, okay, this is where I'm having a hard time. How can you guys help me? And that's really how, we want them to get to eventually. So supporting more, this is another slide on supporting self-determination in school. How can parents empower their students in presenting their goals and plans to their IEP team? I just talked about the goal planner. You can create a one-pager or a PowerPoint presentation. We want to encourage the student to practice and rehearse presenting to the IEP team. It can be a little intimidating. Let's face it, even as adults, we walk into that meeting, whether you're the teacher or the parent, and there may be 3 or 4 other people there. So it can be a little intimidating. So stop and think about how it's going to be for that student, right? You can print a hard copy to share with the team and to attach to the final IEP. That's what we did, and it was very helpful. You can discuss with the students whether or not they want to stay for the entire meeting. And then we do have a presentation that's going to be coming, which is on student-led IEPs, which is coming soon. Oops, skipped a slide, sorry. There we go. So based on career assessments that the school does with the student, okay, help your student choose which diploma pathway would best fit their needs. So that's where we want to create a plan that reflects the courses required for their diploma track. So we also have a presentation on the nuts and bolts of diploma pathways. Are they going for a scholar? Okay, which is basically preparing them for college. Are they going for industry certification, which that's where they would take more of the what they called CTE courses, which are career and technical education. In the past, they were also called voc tech type of courses. Certainly, it's more the courses for the trades, but they must be able to pass the industry certification. There's no modification that can be made in those courses. We can also add the out-of-school activities as far as what they're doing. Usually their junior year is when they're visiting technical schools, colleges, universities. You at the latest 11th grade. 10th grade is even better, depending. And then we want to include in there the deadlines for college applications, so that if they're looking at any kind of financial aid, that those applications get in on time. So supporting self-determination in career exploration. I love this quote by Mark Twain. Find a job you enjoy doing and you'll never work a day in your life. I can kind of feel like that's my job now. We want to help them research different careers and what those requirements are. I had done this presentation to a class with a young lady who had Down syndrome, and she wanted to be a veterinarian. And the beauty was we went to this website that's listed here, mynextmove.org. And so in there, what do I want to do for a living? We put in veterinarian, and it came up with what's required for education, because a veterinarian is not only a doctor, but they're a dentist as well. And what was really great about this was it lists out everything that you need to be able to do physically. It listed out the salaries, okay, of where you could be starting, middle, and seasoned, if you will. But it also listed out in the bottom right-hand corner other careers within that industry that might not require 6 to 8 years of college. Okay, so that's a wonderful place for 12-year-olds to start with career exploration. And they have like 3 different columns. First column, I believe, is the career that you're thinking of. The middle column is more of an industry. So let's face it, if you want to be a veterinarian in at a college, okay, versus your own private practice, they had industry type things there. And then the third one basically is, I have no idea what I want to do. And so there's like 60 questions that that the student can answer. And it's everything from, I like putting together cabinets. No, not really. I like working with animals. Yeah, it's okay. I like working outside. Not so much in Florida, right? Um, it just depends. It's just very helpful for the student to kind of play with those websites. You want to use the keywords of interest in guiding their career research. Encourage your student to write down what their interests are. And I mean, my son with ADHD and gifted, he wanted to be a gamer. And we went and visited a school that specifically targets that. Here in the greater Orlando area, we have what's called Full Sail College, and they do a lot with um, virtual reality and that type of stuff. And once he started to really see what it would involve, and it wasn't just sitting in your bedroom playing a game all day, he realized, that might not be what I want. And so, ironically, he enjoys psychology a lot. Try activities that spark interest in various careers. So supporting self-determination in career exploration, you want to use reflective questions to guide your young adult towards choosing options that fit their abilities and strengths. Why are you interested in this job? Do you think the requirements would be challenging or easy for you to accomplish? Does your diploma option support this choice? How long does it take to prepare for this career? Does the preparation timeline align with your post-secondary goals, like living independently? Maybe the student might have to live at home while they're going to college. So the next steps would be to identify which stage of the transition process your student is in. You want to assess your student's level of self-determination, that slide that had the 4 different steps. Develop a short-term goal related goal, the action steps to meet that final goal. And then I don't have a registration form. That would be if we were in person. So this is a little bit more information about us. We here in the middle are our 3 PTIs, Parent Training and Information Center. Poppin covers the northern part of the state, as you can see here. It does go down to Brevard County. PSN, I'm sorry, Poppin is Parents Offering Parents Information Network. PSN is Parent Support Network, and it basically starts with Citrus County, goes all the way down the west coast to Lee and Collier County, and some of the inland counties like Highlands, Hardy, Glades. Penn, Parent Education Network, which Osceola is a part of, starts with Lake and Orange, goes down to Polk and Osceola, and then goes to the east coast of Florida, all the way down to Monroe, which is the Keys. And all 3 of these projects are funded by the Department of Education under IDEA Part D. Family Star is funded by the Department of Health. STAR stands for Support, Training, Assistance, and Resources. And most of what they do, the same thing that the 3 PTIs do, but their families are more medically involved as far as the students. We also have F&D trust services. This is set up for special needs trusts. When a student turns 18, they may qualify for SSI, Social Supplemental Income, and that is based on a family of 1. You can't, they or you can't have more than $2,000 in the bank, which is really not very much money. So this way you can plan for your student for when you won't be here anymore. It's not if, because we're all going to die. None of us want to talk about it, but when we're no longer here, you can have money set aside in a trust service and it won't count against their government benefits. And then down here is F&D Dadvocates. Dads speak a different language than moms do. So we have a support group for dads as well. This would be our downloadable resources. We have healthcare resources. We have social stories. So if you're going to go on a plane trip, I'm taking my daughter on a cruise in a couple of weeks with some of her friends. And so we're going to have a social story because she's afraid of heights. And so we have to, there's going to be some heights because it's a ship. We also have a sound bank. So if your child has a real aversion to, let's say, rain or thunder or dog barking, we have a lot of different sounds here. Everything that we have is in translated in Spanish. These downloadable resources, it's a one pager. So when we're working with families, maybe you agree with everything that's on the IEP, but there might be one thing that, you know, you have a concern about. Maybe it's transportation. Maybe it's a behavioral. Maybe it's augmented device as far as being able to, you know, do text to speech or typing. We also have what's called F&D University. And as it says, it's a non-accredited online system specifically designed, specially designed to help parents and professionals learn more about special education at their own pace. It is available in English and Spanish. And then this is our final slide. This is how you can get a hold of us. We do have our main office is in Clearwater, but as you saw with the maps, we're located all throughout the state. Long before COVID ever hit us, we were using Zoom and doing meetings, meeting with families, as well as like today, doing a webinar and recording it so that you can watch this at a later time. So hopefully this has been helpful. This is a slide you definitely want to take a picture of. And once you call our office or send an email to our office, after they've asked you for your name and where you live, they're going to ask you what county you're in so that they can make sure that it is assigned to the correct project. But don't hesitate to give us a quick call and we will try to help you navigate whatever stage you're at with your child. So hopefully this has been helpful. I'm going to stop sharing. And at this point, thank you, Brittany, for coming back on. I know that Brittany has her position in Osceola because she knows she's got a lot of knowledge. And so she knows what the school is required to do and can do and knows what kind of resources Osceola has available. And I've learned being at the IEP table every once in a while, you know, sometimes whatever we need, and especially when it comes to parents that want their children included in the general education class, sometimes it's not a matter of having to spend any more money. I know I can think of one family where we were able to do it at lunchtime. And, you know, the concern from the teachers is that, okay, she can't keep up with what's going on in the classroom. And the parent wasn't asking for her to keep up with anything in the classroom. She just wanted her kid to have friends. And I know when mine, you know, was attending her IEP, I want to say, I think it was 10th, it was either 9th or 10th grade. She had gone back through the PowerPoint and she literally came up with the sentence, "I need help to make friends for when I graduate." Because she knew, you know, and it amazed me because sometimes I think, okay, when's the Down syndrome going to kick in? Because she's much sharper than I would give her credit for. But she knew that when she graduated, she wouldn't be coming back to school. And it was like, I want friends. So anything you'd like to add, Miss Brittany?
No, I think this PowerPoint is amazing because I do think there is a disconnect between self-advocacy and then self-determination. So I felt like this was, I kind of want to steal it because it was so good. But we do have, I know you mentioned Project 10. So Project 10, they do quite a few trainings with us throughout the year where they come
Yes.
out and they train our teachers on transition and they do talk about that. But I do feel like there is just there's not a full explanation of self-determination sometimes. So that was great. So hopefully people do come and watch this because I thought it was so good. And some of those slides really outline exactly what self-determination is, because it is kind of confusing when you think about it with self-advocacy. And now we have to start at 11. So we have to start at 11 years old talking about it. And that's been a huge change because we have a lot of 11-year-olds in elementary school. And it
Right.
wasn't something that we had to talk about before. And so some of these elementary schools, they have fourth graders and fifth graders that are 11 and that they have to start thinking about self-determination. So I definitely
It-
appreciate everything you guys do.
Yeah, it can be scary for parents because you're
Mhm.
thinking, oh my God, 11 years old. You
Yeah.
know, so many of us graduated high school still not really knowing what we wanted to do with our lives.
Mhm.
And the whole point of starting at 11, just so that parents understand, is to have a plan in place come ninth grade. And it
Mhm.
doesn't mean it's in concrete, but we have a plan. Let's not
Mhm.
start in 11th or 12th grade. We're starting in ninth grade. And
Mhm.
that mean, going forward, I mean, there's plenty of times where even as young adults, you go to college and you think, okay, this is what I want to major in. And then you get to your sophomore year and go, nope,
Mhm.
that's not going to work for me. And I can remember thinking, I'm a helper. And I thought, oh, I would love to be a nurse
Mhm.
until I remembered how much I hated science in high
Yeah.
school. And it's like, oh my word, okay,
Mhm.
that's not going to work for me.
Mhm.
So that's the whole point of all of this.
Yeah,
Well, thank you, Brittany. I
of course.
appreciate you
Mhm.
joining us. I am going to stop the recording.